Hi, my name is Ally Keegan, and I'm a criminal defense attorney at the law office of David Shapiro in San Diego, where we help good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. I want to talk about the one thing you absolutely need to make sure you do with the DMV if you're arrested for a DUI. And this is something a lot of people actually tend to mess up, and it's understandable because if you're under arrest, especially for a DUI, you generally have a lot going on. You're answering an officer's questions, you might be doing field sobriety tests where you're walking a straight line or counting backwards or doing something like that. You're being breathalyzed to determine what your BAC is, and maybe even you had your car impounded by the police. But one thing you really want to be mindful of is that at some point, either at the scene or maybe if you're released from custody, but at some point, your arresting officer is probably going to give you a piece of paper that is very important. And as a general rule of thumb, in San Diego, it's going to be a pink sheet of paper, though it could theoretically be white or some other color. But especially if you get a pink sheet of paper, read it, because what you're going to see at the bottom of that is some fine print saying that you are entitled to have a hearing set up with the DMV, not the court or anyone else, but the DMV, and that you have 10 days to set it up. That if you want to have it at all, you need to call them within 10 days of your arrest. And that hearing is to determine whether or not the DMV is going to suspend your license regardless of what the court does. And that means even if you're never actually criminally charged with a DUI, the DMV can still go ahead and suspend your license for some period of time just on their own and independently. The length of the suspension depends on whether you have priors and all of that, and it's very case by case for the length of the suspension. But if you don't request that hearing, you could potentially forfeit your ability to ever even fight them suspending your license. So they're saying, hey, you got arrested for a DUI, so by default, we're probably going to suspend your license for some period of time. And unless you call them within 10 days and say, hey, I understand that, but I want a hearing and I want to be able to fight this, then you might lose that ability altogether. And what would happen then is the DMV, if you forget to do that, the DMV automatically suspends your license, and then you do not have an ability to drive while you're trying to figure out everything else, while you're trying to call attorneys, get a handle on where your car might be, what needs to be done, where your property went, and also what's going on with court and court status. So you need to make sure you either, as soon as you're arrested for a DUI, you call a criminal defense attorney, and not just anyone. You want it to be a qualified, locally experienced criminal defense firm to help you out that understands this deadline and will be able to set that up for you. Or if you need more time before reaching out to attorneys, make sure you set it up yourself within 10 days. And that way, when you call a criminal defense firm like ours, we can handle the hearing for you, but you've at least preserved your right to have one because you reached out within that given time frame. Because when you are dealing with a DUI arrest and possible charges and a license suspension and everything else, the stakes are very high, because it's not just whether or not you are able to drive in general, it's whether you can get to work, it's whether you can get your kids to school, whether you can get them to childcare, and your ability to drive is going to affect your day-to-day life for the foreseeable future, and it matters. So if you do nothing else with the DMV, as soon as you are arrested for a DUI offense, make sure you either call a criminal defense attorney that knows what they're doing and knows how to handle these types of hearings, or you set up that hearing yourself within 10 days so that you don't lose the ability to down the road. If you have been arrested for a DUI, you're facing criminal charges, or you have questions about the DMV administrative per se hearing, which is what they call it, go ahead and give us a call. Our phone number is 619-295-3555, and we can talk you through it.